Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the Culinary Cast. I'm your host, Colby Jordan, and today I'm here with another special guest, Julie Huggins. Julie, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I absolutely would. Thanks for having me today, Colby. My name, like you said, my name is Julie Huggins. I live in Pinehurst, and I just graduated from the Sand Hills Culinary program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what did you do before you got into culinary?
Most of my adult life, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was an Army wife. We moved. My husband was in the Army 30 years. Mm-hmm. We moved 14 times. So the cool thing about that was I got to experience the world, got to see a whole lot of things. I'm originally from a little farm town in Illinois. Haven't lived there in a very long time. It's always home, but lived a lot of other places since then. And now I have decided after we moved to Pinehurst about 4 or 5 years ago that I needed something else. Mm-hmm. You know, something that was mine. My kids are grown. And like I said, now we have grandchildren. Mm-hmm. So I've always liked to cook. And I was told how great the program was at Sand Hills. So I thought I'd give it a try. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So are you working anywhere now?
I have been. Most of last year I worked at the Bakehouse in Aberdeen. And then I've also been working at a place, a new sandwich market, a farm-to-table place called Roast. That's over by I think that's called the Carthage Airport, at that little traffic circle.
I know the place you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. So I work there. Right now, I decided since I graduated school, I was going to take the month of January off. And then I'm going to look for another job after that. I'm also working on a business plan for myself. I think I might be stepping into the personal chef / catering world, so I can control my time a little bit.
Yeah, it's not a 9 to 5 or even you don't even get those in the culinary world, but it's not like a scheduled business days. You know, it's just do your own thing.
It is, and as much as I really enjoyed working at Roast and that place in particular, because it's brand new, it's pretty exciting to see. There's some really late nights, and I wasn't rolling in till 11:30 at night and then have to get up and go to school the next day. It's like, no, it's kind of hard. So,
and that's like a big thing about the restaurant industry, because it doesn't have to be, you work in a restaurant, you work there all day, you go home every night. You can get into the world of like catering or personal chefing, where you can like kind of schedule and like structure your business however you want. And like because there's a lot of things you can do with food, not just the restaurant like model. You know, there's a bunch of other business opportunities and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, there are, and it's, right now with all the COVID restrictions and things, I think sometimes you have to think outside the box. And I think there's still a lot of people not comfortable going to restaurants. Yeah. And then restaurants are at, have a reduced capacity, which kind of makes it a challenge. And I think all those other things are really coming more into play. I mean, especially if you look at food trucks. I mean, look at their success right now. Yeah. Things like that are amazing. And personal chef and all that other kind of thing. I think that's really, there's going to be a real market for that this year.
That's, I was talking to Josiah Fast for my last interview, and he was saying how him and his business partner was going to open a restaurant in March or something like that, but they didn't, and they decided to go with the pizza thing like lately, so it would be a COVID proof restaurant, because pizza is such an easy thing. It's not really there's a big takeout business and like that, and that's like takeout has gone up substantially lately because of COVID. So, and I feel like that's a big unexplored thing in the culinary universe, because a lot of times it's just like, we're a dine-in restaurant, but someone wants to order something to go, we'll just pack it up from the go. But I feel like that's a untapped market in the culinary world, that we're just sitting here and letting Domino's and Papa John's take over and stuff like that. So so and I feel like there's a lot of different things you can do in the culinary world besides just the simple restaurant model that need to be explored, because there's a lot of like snobbery when it comes to like, oh well, that's not real, like takeout, like
Sure.
that's not real cooking, that's not a real restaurant. You can't be a professional chef that does takeout, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's kind of restricting people to explore new things, because there's always like the certain chefs have to do this, this is what the classic chef, this is what they do, this is how they cook, this is the business model that they do. But there's so much more things that we could be doing, and just because there's like that whole like precedent of like that's what they do, it prevents or like discourages people from thinking outside the box. And I love is I watched a bunch of documentaries about people just like taking the whole restaurant thing and like flipping it on its head. Like there's a chef named Grant Atches. I'm pretty sure I didn't pronounce his last name right. And he's from Chicago, and he has a restaurant called Alina. And there's like so much different things he does. They do like they turn like sugar and they mix it up a certain way and they make it to like a balloon. And people can eat it. And like
Sure.
he does this thing where he has like a it's not like a coffee grinder, but it turns things into like vapor basically. So he'll put all these like I forget the name of it, like a vaporizer. I don't think that's the name of it, but something like that. And they put like all these herbs into it, and they'll put it into like a pillow, and they'll set the food on the pillow and they'll poke holes in it. So when so it emits this aroma of all these herbs and all these flavors, and it's so amazing the different things you can do with food. And like food as art is amazing, because I was talking to Josiah about this, like there's so many different senses that food can play on. It's not just like paintings, it's just sight. Food plays on like your taste and like texture and feel, and also like listening, because things like when you take bread out of the oven and you set it down, you can hear it crackling, and a bunch of other stuff you can do with food. And it really plays on everything. But with all that creativity you also have restrictions on what you can do with food, because you're restricted to make money off of it. You really have to go with a restaurant, and it can be hard to be expressive in a restaurant, because everyone has to be like portion sizes and pricing, and you can't throw thousands of dollars on a dish to be expressive, and it may be the best tasting thing in the world, but it can be hard because at the end of the day people have to come there and eat. So you can't, it can be hard to be expressive and still fit the business model of a restaurant, because at the end of the day people come there, people sit down, people eat, and it can be a challenge to really fit your creativity into that, to make a dish that people is like practical, that people can eat, and portion sizes and pricing and stuff like that. So
sure. And I think that's probably what people who do go into to opening their own restaurant have to find that balance between creativity and being a good businessman, or person. I shouldn't say man, but I think that that is probably rare. And I think maybe, in my limited view, maybe that's why so many restaurants don't succeed, because chefs are by nature very creative, like you said, and they want to do absolutely the coolest thing they can come up with and make just this killer meal. But then when you go to price that out, nobody's going to spend that for whatever that is. And so trying to scale that back a little bit. And it's been interesting for me working at a brand new restaurant and seeing that chef who truly knows what he's doing, trying to scale that back a little bit and find that balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that's very, very hard to do. I don't know many chefs who I think go into it thinking, oh, great, I can't wait to run a business. I can't wait to have to do, all the pricing and the HR things and follow all the rules and everything. That's kind of like secondary in their mind. Their first and foremost, their thought is this food. But like you were talking earlier, I think with this particular career field, the successful chefs are going to be the ones who can adapt and who can adjust to whatever their challenges are. Right now, it's restrictions because of COVID. And they do need to look at different business models. And you were talking about takeout and how people hadn't really thought about it all that much, I don't think. Now it's a big deal. It's a real big deal. And all of the things you need in your restaurant to make that happen, because not every meal can be put on a plate or put in a to-go container and you still have the same outcome. You know that you don't. Some things don't travel well. Some things don't hold well. The texture is wrong, or it is going to be beautiful on your plate when they bring it to you at the restaurant when you're sitting down. But to put that in a to-go container and then you're going to have it like 20 or 30 minutes later, you're going to look at it and think,
Yeah.
No, that isn't really what I was looking for.
And there's like also when you go into a restaurant, you can like set the lights a certain level, and you can make it look beautiful in there, and like music and stuff like that, to create like an environment to really funnel your creativity and to reflect that. And it's hard to capture that in takeout, so it's just another challenge to do. And and like running a business, it can be hard to funnel your creativity into a set business model, because like there's if every chef could afford it, they'd cook with truffles, you know what I mean? And that's
sure they would.
But that's truffles are like hundreds of dollars an ounce, you know, they're expensive. No one and it can be really, and also like freshness of ingredients and stuff like that. And because when you're like a painter, you just got to buy paint and a canvas, and then your creativity is limited to your paint and that canvas. But at the end of the day, you can be as creative as you want with your paint. And I'm not an artist. I don't know that much about the field. I don't know how if there's like special paints that are like expensive that not every artist can get. I'm not 100% sure, but and with cooking, if you want fresh ingredients, the best stuff, it can be very expensive. And also, like, it can be hard to get seafood all the way out here when the coast is, hundreds of miles away. And that's just another challenge, because you can't get the best ingredients into your restaurant to produce your creativity, because business challenges,
Sure. And I would think just a little bit I've seen, it makes a huge difference even in the meat that you buy. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary Food Incorporated. You should go on YouTube and watch that. That's a real eye-opener about the American food supply.
I think I've heard of it before.
Yeah. And what has been done to it, and the way animals and things are raised and all that kind of thing, including chemicals and that kind of thing. So finding meat, it makes a huge difference in the taste of your product if you use an ethically raised animal versus the mass-produced animal, or if you're going to have farm-raised, free-range eggs, or something like that. I don't mean all organic, but I just mean that is humanely raised. And it makes it's hard to explain, but it makes a huge difference just in the quality of your meal. And I don't think a lot of Americans pay attention to that as much as they should. And every time you have the opportunity to have something that is farm to table, that is locally grown, that is, there's care given to it. I think you're going to appreciate. I think customers are going to appreciate it more. They're gonna like the outcome more than just mass produced. I mean, and I don't mean to drag down McDonald's, but it's kind of like going to McDonald's versus having a meal that someone has really put a lot of heart and soul into.
And like I grew up around here. We have a factory chicken farm, and so I've kind of experienced the farm side of, at least, you know, that type of the food industry. And the demand is so high when it comes to stuff like that. You can't really, because in a flock we'll have 80,000 chickens, so it can be hard to foster to make your product the best when you have that high demand.
Right.
You know, we'll have 3 flocks a year, so that's, I'm not good at math, but that's a lot of chickens. So
240,000.
Yeah, you know, and that's just one farm. You know, there's thousands of farms even around here. You know, this is a big chicken farming place. You know, we know many of people who, you know, farm and stuff like that, and it's, and also like big health craze, because everyone's, you know, going into that now, and that's the huge trend. A lot of farm to table stuff is a lot healthier than processed stuff, and
it is.
So that's why that's becoming a big thing. And it's hard to get supplies for that, get demand, because even though the demand's going up, it's still hard to mass produce things that are so, like, you know, you have to take care into that animal or, you know, that vegetable or whatever. And now that the farm to table market is going up, the demand that farms are going to have of them is also going to go up. So, and then you can't really afford the best things for that animal or that vegetable or anything to be the best when you have so many of them. So it, you know, it's, I feel like the more demand it's going to get, the more it's just going to become the factory farming, because there's really it's such of, and like factory farming, it's such like a demonized thing, you know, especially with Peta and whatever. And I will, because I'll vouch for it, because, you know, my family are factory farmers, and I will say, at the end of the day, they're animals, so like,
they are.
So we don't like beat our dogs or anything like that. So, you know, Peta just, you know, take a pill. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, humans are at the top of the food chain. I'm not saying, like, you know, we don't go around to our chicken farm and abuse and pick up and throw around and kick our chickens or whatever. Like, you know, but at the end of the day, it's, you know, humans are at the top of the food chain. You know, I get them going after dog beaters and stuff in that matter, and, you know, that's, you know, whatever. That's wrong, because there's no point in that. You know, that's just evil. And there was a whole thing a few years ago where a guy took videos of him, like, killing his, like, kittens and posted it online, and there was a big hunt. Yeah. There was a documentary on Netflix. I didn't watch it, but I heard about it, and there was like a big thing to find that guy and whatever. But if you look at, and there's like vegans and stuff like that too, which whatever, like, if you feel bad about whatever because you got a moral conscience to a freaking cow or whatever, you know, don't eat it, like, whatever, you know what I mean? But
I do.
To us, to people like us who like meat, you know, they're animals.
I like
at the end
meat
of the
too.
day.
I like meat. Yeah, you do have a good perspective, having been raised near, you know, like on a farm and that kind of thing. So you understand what goes into raising the animals, and I think you have kind of a leg up, so to speak. And when it comes to being in the culinary world, you're going to have a unique perspective that others probably should pay attention to. And I think many Americans are just so used to having food so readily available. Anything they want any time of the year that they get frustrated when they, you're talking about farm to table, the demand going up and all that kind of thing. And then, there's not enough, to fill the demand. But, Americans don't like to wait. And I will tell you from my perspective, I grew up in the Midwest, in a little farm town. And now, granted, I'm quite a bit older than you, but when I was growing up, we very much ate seasonally. And my parents we had a huge garden. One of my grandpas was a farmer. And my mom canned everything so that we had vegetables to eat all year round, because you couldn't go to the grocery store in January and find a miniature seedless watermelon. It just wasn't there. And I don't think I ever ate an avocado. I know I did not eat an avocado until I was an adult and I moved to the South, because there were no avocados in the Midwest. It just wasn't grown there, so we didn't eat it. And we had my parents, although we didn't live on a farm, there are many farms around us, so my parents got our milk from a farmer and our eggs from a farmer, and they bought cows by the side, and put it in the freezer and that kind of thing. And it's a real, I think Americans have forgotten all that, that there really is a season for fruits and vegetables. And there really is, not everything is available 24/7. And if it is available 24/7, you may not be getting
the best.
You may not be getting the quality that you think you are. But Americans are pretty demanding, and they want everything their way right now. And it's a little bit of an issue.
Yeah. And also, like, going back to farming and stuff like that, because I'm gonna try my best to try to justify factory farms. I'm not saying like, I get it, it's not going to be the same if we do like naturally grown or organic or whatever else kind of words people want to throw into it. But at the end of the day, you'll see like PETA and other organizations like that post like pictures or whatever, like, oh, they're starving these chickens and they're all like throwing them in this big house and keeping them all cluttered up. At the end of the day, like, we don't do that. That is not our intentions. We do not try to starve our chickens by any means,
right?
Because that's just not good for business. They grade our chickens based on weight. So why would we ever try to starve our chickens or make them like be in any way, starved or at a disadvantage or anything like that? We try our very best, even the amount we have of like chickens, to give them the best living conditions as possible, because that's just what's best for business. So when it's not just we're starving chickens, or it's not just, oh yeah, we're just throwing them in a house and whatever. Like, these chickens, we give them medicine, we give them vaccinations, we give them, and we try our best for them not to get sick and stuff like that, because it's just bad for business. And we give them the absolute best thing for them to grow the best they can, because that's, we're going to get more profit off of that, because that's just how the business works. So I feel like, even though factory farming is not organic or whatever, I still think it should not be demonized in the fact of, it is kind of processed or whatever like that. And I feel like that has its place, even though farm to table stuff also has its place. And it shouldn't be, I don't think we could last without factory farming. And that's just not just chickens, that's cows, that's even plants and stuff like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
We wouldn't. And
There'd be famines,
there would be. And not, when organizations are trying to demonize a group, they're going to go look for the ones who are not doing things correctly. So then, therefore, when there are companies like yours or farms like yours who are doing things correctly, you kind of get thrown under the bus with everybody else.
Yeah.
Which is, it's unfortunate. And I think people realize that there are good factory farms as well as, all the small little farms and all that kind of thing. I think people realize that.
And that's, again, there's a place for farm to table and organic and stuff like that. And also there is a place for factory farming, because without it, we would all starve. There's just too many people. You know what I mean?
That's very true. You're absolutely right. I don't think the small farms, the small farms that are doing, the farm to table, which is great, they can't keep up with the demand. I mean, they just can't. So hopefully there are, millions of farmers like you, like your family, who are doing it right and who are doing their best by their animals or their produce, whatever it is they're producing. So, Americans have enough food and, don't have to wait. But, I mean, I think you're right. I think there's room for both.
Yeah.
There really is.
Before factory farming, before it really became an industry or whatever, everyone had a garden in their backyard, and everyone went hunting. And even when towns, there was always the town market that got from local farms. But as the population increased, it had to kind of become an industry because the demand got so high. And like right now, if you take away factory farming, how is people living in an apartment in the city going to have a garden in their backyard? And even like local farms, cities are, and like even towns are so big now, you can't have local farms, like small scale, to produce that much food just to supply even a local area, because there's just not enough. Yeah. And especially with how much Americans eat. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
I'm not innocent from that, but you know what I mean? It's just the demand is just so incredibly high that factory farms are indeed needed, because we wouldn't last without them. Yeah. And also, like, I feel like there are also changes that could be made with factory farms, especially when you got crops that are just sprayed with 50,000 chemicals and whatever. I feel like, and I actually wrote a paper about this in one of my English classes at school. I feel like we could develop a system to produce good food from good food, so we could feed our animals instead of hormones and whatever else. We could feed them good organic food, and then they themselves become good organic food.
Sure.
But I don't know how we would go along with that. It's just an idea in my head.
I don't know. Maybe that's why you're getting involved in this. Maybe you're going to come up with a solution for all of that.
I don't know.
I mean, I am a fan of, I usually have a garden, but that's just personal preference.
Yeah.
I do like knowing where my food comes from, and I like knowing how it was produced, what kind of, if I want to use a chemical on it, it's my choice kind of thing. But I think there are a lot of people, I think that's one of those skills that's kind of lost. I hope it comes back in not just gardening, but preserving food. And I'm all of, as much as I am involved and want to be involved in the food service business, I'm also a fan of people cooking at home. And I think there needs to be a balance of that. Because when I was a kid, we didn't go out to eat, because not only my parents probably didn't have the money, because there were 6 of us, but it just wasn't a thing. It just wasn't. And it was a special thing when, we could all get together and go out and do something like that. And it was a real treat. And my siblings and I still remember those times that we got to do that. It was really cool. But now, I think if I read the statistic correctly, the majority of Americans eat 2 of their meals a day out, and which is pretty astounding when you think about it. I mean, I think there are a lot of them that are hitting the McDonald's drive-through. So it's not like they're going out for a huge, gourmet meal every day. But and I'm guilty. I go to Chick-fil-A because I adore Chick-fil-A.
Well, it's convenient,
It is.
With how busy people are nowadays, not everyone can cook from home, especially when they have a big family or whatever, it can be hard to do stuff like that. And also it can be cheaper sometimes because, the $2 burger at McDonald's is better than buying ground beef for an amount and then buying lettuce, buying a tomato, buying an onion, buying a bun. You know what I mean?
I do.
So
I do. Yeah.
It's just become such convenient for people just to run by the McDonald's drive-thru.
Sure.
And to be honest, I feel like there needs to be a McDonald's in the world.
Why is that?
Just because I feel like not everyone can cook from home. Not everyone has the money to go to a gourmet restaurant. Not everyone. Just so, and, I'm not saying McDonald's has to be so processed. I'm not saying that they're a perfect company or
Sure.
I'm praising McDonald's here. I'm not meaning to call them out too,
Yeah.
But I feel like there needs to be stuff like that for people, just of convenience sake, because there's many people, I think of like nurses and stuff like that, who are just so busy with their job, and their job is like so essential. It can be hard to cook a good meal at home when they're so busy like that, and there needs to be nurses and stuff like that. So I feel like something convenient like that has to exist or needs to exist. I'm not one of these people in the culinary world who's like death to McDonald's. And,
I'm not really
whatever.
either. I actually wrote a paper on McDonald's for my food and beverage service class, and it was on McDonald's impact on the food service industry worldwide. It's pretty incredible. I think when they first began, they were Ray Kroc, who ended up marketing them to success, was very well intentioned. I don't know that he would agree with what they have become with some of their food products, but they do a whole lot of things for the community, which I didn't really realize that they do medical clinics and dental clinics in low income areas and things. I knew about Ronald McDonald houses, which there's obviously a need for that. But it was kind of cool to see that other part of what they do. And I don't know the world to be a real different place without McDonald's.
Yeah.
Not that I like their coffee. I would say that's kind of what I do. I like their coffee once in a while, but not so much their burgers and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think they wouldn't be so successful if people didn't want it.
There's just such a demand, know.
There is.
And that's also like, I was just thinking about like going back to the whole, to-go things being like takeout being an untapped market. Also fast food. I don't think you could go to school, talk to everyone. No one's thinking about fast food. You know what I mean? And it's not something where you can make a gourmet meal and send it out the window for $5 every 20 seconds. But
yeah.
I feel like it could be an untapped market for culinarians and chefs and stuff like that. I'm just thinking off the top of my head here.
Yeah, I think that those chefs or business owners who are going to be successful are those who can adapt. And I think McDonald's is a perfect example of that. I mean, if you just look, you're probably not old enough to remember all the what McDonald's used to be to what it is now, but they've adapted quite a bit depending on consumer demand. And so now we are at a point, like you were saying, where people want takeout. And they're willing to come get it. They'll go through a drive-through. They'll use DoorDash. They'll use whatever. Yeah. People need to be. It's been kind of interesting around here, like in Moore County, watching some of the restaurants change. They pivoted away from the one that comes to mind was Kurt's Cucina, and he's in Southern Pines, and now he's Kurt's Grinders and Gravy, because I don't think they could get all of their product. And when all of this lockdown thing first started, and they were struggling to keep their business going because they're a family-run business, and and then they couldn't have people inside, so they were trying to come up with something, and they ended up shifting. Right now, that is what they sell. They sell grinders, and they are wildly successful. And I mean, he's a great cook anyway. I mean, he's a great cook.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that once things ease up, he's looking to open a more traditional restaurant like he had.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, this is what's keeping him going.
Mm-hmm.
And, good for him. And I'm telling you, it was kind of funny to watch it online. People would say, look, I've been calling for an hour and I can't get through. And think about that.
Mm-hmm.
They've been calling for an hour because they want your food. So, your food has to be good.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be consistently good. And you have to be able to deliver it to them on their terms now, because the terms are different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can adapt to that, to the takeout and the DoorDash and all that other kind of stuff that's going on, I think you're going to do real well.
Mm-hmm.
Do real well.
And that's like how you were saying how like businesses like McDonald's have been around so long because they adapted. Now that the whole organic thing and the health craze stuff like that, Burger King, actually, I saw the other day, they're gonna like completely like change their logo. They're gonna like do a bunch of other stuff like that, and kind of focus more on the organic, real food side of things, because they know there's a market to it, and
Sure.
that's an unexplored thing in fast food, because you can't really get a good organic, wholesome meal through a drive-through window. You know what I mean?
I do.
So they are exploring that side, and even though I'm not a big fan of Burger King, I really don't like Burger King.
I don't either.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what's happening. And then also another thing, like they did the whole Impossible Whopper. Did you hear
Yes,
about that?
I did.
No
Yeah.
meat thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's vegan, but a vegetarian burger of some sort.
I don't like that's becoming I'm not liking that, because I just know that eventually veganism is gonna take over the world and
No.
save the animals.
No.
And the poor pig.
No, it won't. No, it won't.
I hope
There
it
are
won't.
enough of us meat eaters out there. I don't
But
think that's going to happen.
It's starting to become a thing. More popular and stuff like that. And the Impossible Whopper was a big thing, and everyone's like, "Oh, we don't have to kill animals no more. We got it right here." And I
Yeah.
just hope stuff like that doesn't catch on.
No, I don't think it will. I think Americans could slow down their meat consumption slightly.
Yeah.
I don't think meat 3 times a day is probably the best thing for our bodies. Don't get me wrong, I'm a meat eater. I really am. But I think Americans have a lot of health issues as well. And I think maybe focusing a tiny bit more on some healthy options is not a bad deal.
Yeah. And it's just like my girlfriend's a vegetarian, and like
Really?
so I don't know what to cook anymore. So but anyways, and like she is such a nice person.
Sure.
that her brother owns a chicken farm, and she would go help him in that, and it kind of turned her off to the whole deal. Now
Yeah.
she saw where it comes from, so now
Sure.
she just can't handle the fact of eating animals, just because she just loves them so much. And like I get it, like if you don't feel right about eating animals, then don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not for everybody, because me personally, I love a good steak. I love a good burger. I love a good
I do
like
too.
barbecue or whatever. Like I'm not
I
gonna
do too.
I'm not gonna give that up just because I have sympathy for a pig or whatever.
Right.
Like it's a pig. I'm not
It's
gonna
a pig.
I'm not gonna sit here and hurt the pig. I'm not gonna. But
Yeah.
it's pig.
Yeah.
I
I joke with my family, I could be a vegetarian except for brisket and shrimp.
Yeah.
Those 2 things. Everything else I think I could give up if I needed to, but brisket and shrimp, no, I gotta have those 2.
And that's my girlfriend. She loves chicken, but she just cannot get over the fact that it's. She's just too compassionate.
She's seen it.
She can't.
Sure.
And like she loves turkey too.
Uh-huh.
And that's this past Thanksgiving, or I believe it was Christmas. She actually got turkey on her plate because she was going to eat it, but she just couldn't. Like she just
Couldn't do it.
She couldn't get over that hurdle in her head that
Yeah.
I'm not like calling her out or anything. I
Well,
love
no.
her, and
Sure.
she just has such a good heart.
She sounds like it. She sounds like she's very compassionate.
Yeah.
Yes.
She is.
Yes.
She just can't get over it.
And those things change a lot over the years as we age. Some people go more toward, their eating habits completely change. Either more meat, less meat, more fruit, no fruit, whatever. So just because she's that way now, I don't know her obviously. So it could be a lifelong thing, but you never know. Then does she still eat fish?
No.
No fish.
No fish.
She doesn't like it.
She doesn't eat eggs.
She doesn't eat eggs.
She's not a vegan. She can't stop eating cheese. She cut the line at that. Like, she's got to have her cheese.
She likes honey.
She eats honey.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
I find funny about vegans, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but vegans seem to want a meal that is the same as a meat-based meal. They want it called the same thing. They want it to taste the same, but they don't want any of the same ingredients in it. And so, like the place that I was working, they have a couple of vegan things on their menu. One of them is a vegan crab cake. Now, I have to tell you, I don't normally dig crab cakes, but that is a delicious crab cake. And I would eat that any day of the week, not because it's vegan, but just because it tastes good. And we were talking in there one day in the restaurant. It's like, why do vegans want it that way? Why wouldn't they just want it called something completely different, and they want it to have a completely different flavor, it just have their own category of food, but it's almost like they're trying to incorporate the meat flavor, texture, seasonings, and all of that. They want it, but they just don't want any of the meat.
Yeah, and also
it's kind of funny.
That can be a big untapped market, appealing to vegetables. There's a lot of dishes you can just do with vegetables.
Yes.
That of course there's a fillet, and as a chef you can't really avoid that. You get trained to cook steak, and you get trained to process meat, and you get trained to debone chickens and whatever, and that's just it feels like it's so big, a big part of the restaurant industry, and it is, that it can be hard to deviate from that. But vegetarian stuff, that could be a big unexplored market to get into, honestly,
And those are not quite so much of a challenge, I don't think. Even at school, a couple of my classes, production classes, when we had luncheons, there were times I had to come up with a vegetarian entree or a vegetarian appetizer, some kind of an option for vegetarians. And it was kind of interesting to be able to do that and to explore that, and not just always, here we're doing this or we're doing this, but, to be allowed some creativity to come up with. One week I had to do, the appetizer was bruschetta. And I wanted to make something similar, but I had to make it a vegetarian option. So I ended up using tomato on the bottom, and, just kind of, it turned out really well, and everybody really liked it. And it was just not something I'd ever thought of doing before, So there's a lot of that. And there are a lot of people who are grateful for that and who would definitely order that kind of thing.
And that's just, how I was saying before, the culinary world is kind of set in its ways when it comes to classical French.
Well, sure, yeah,
cuisine,
in the classical, yes, I do.
And I feel like once you go to like culinary school, not distant culinary school, I love it, but once you go there, you kind of get trained in those ways, so your creativity kind of is based on that going forward in your career. And, so I feel like there's so many other different types of cooking and different types of way you can do food and stuff like that are just completely unexplored, because there's kind of the precedent of this is the way all the chefs do it. So that's presented as the way, this is how you cook.
Well, do you wonder if maybe they're teaching us that so that we have that basis, and then when we go out into the culinary world, if then we see other ways to do the same thing, but we still can fall back on the traditional way of doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not ever going to make a bechamel different than the traditional way of bechamel or a velouté or, a sauce, things like that. But you're right. I mean, when you get out there, and one of the chefs that I was kind of joking with, we were talking about tempering chocolate. And he said, so you pop that in the microwave and melt it? And I said, no. I said, we're not allowed to do that. And he said, well, welcome to the, whatever he said, like to the restaurant world. He said, that's the way we do it out here. We just pop that stuff in the microwave.
Yeah. I feel like people should be more creative when it comes to cooking. And because the whole classic way, when you're learning how to cook, it's like, here you go. This is how you cook. This is what you do. This is what you create. This is what food is. This is what culinary stuff is. This is that. When there could be more things that we could do. You know what I mean? Not just, and that's like even the basic stuff. You know, even deconstructing a dish. You know, a sauce. Why does it have to be a sauce? Why can't it be something different? Why does it have to be a certain way that is just common knowledge in the culinary world? Why can't we do this a completely different way? You know, so I feel like creativity can really go anywhere, and I feel like people should be more open to change and more open to other ways of doing things. In the requirement that, you know, like I was saying earlier, it has to be safe to eat. Obviously, you can't put a raw piece of chicken on a plate, and you know, it has to be safe to eat, and you have to fit it in a business model, whichever way you're running your business, whether it's a restaurant, catering business, you know, banquets, yada yada yada. It just has to be safety and has to be presented in a way that can fit your business. But besides that, I feel like people shouldn't be so close-minded to where, you know, I have to make this a certain way. I have to do this a certain way. This is how you process this. This is how you cook this. When, as long as it fits those two criteria, you can do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think when you get out there and you work, especially if you end up with your own place, that's where you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know, that's the cool thing. And I don't know if you've ever been to Charleston, South Carolina.
I have been twice, but it's been a while back.
I have a friend that lives down there, and they're a small group of us. We try and go at least once a year. I will tell you, I have never had a bad meal there, ever. I've had the most creative, fresh, amazing meals in that town, but it's definitely a foodie town.
Yeah.
And I went to school with a guy who graduated in May, and he used to work at Ashton's. He moved to Charleston. He's working at a restaurant called La Farfalla, and what he does, he makes pasta his entire shift, and then the chefs take it and, you know, do whatever they're going to do with it. But what a cool experience. I mean, and just the amazing things. I've tried to kind of keep some notes over the years of the things that I've tried down there that were just so great. I had, but people are very creative, and I hope that you have the chance to run across, you know, real foodie people who aren't afraid to try anything, and who can, maybe mix some of the classic stuff with some of the newer ideas, which are, you know, are pretty awesome. You know, not much limit on what you can do if you use your imagination, you know, and are careful in your selection of ingredients and that kind of thing. And
that's like, I want to just go just everywhere. I want to go to New York. I want to go to, you know, Charleston. I want to go to Paris. I just want to experience things. And like all my life, I've been a picky eater, you know.
Really?
Ooh, I don't want to eat that. You know? And I'll always be, you know, very specific on what I ate. I mean, when I was probably 5 years old to when I was probably 12, the only two things I ate was, I think, like cheese pizza and like Fruit Loop cereal. Those were my two things, and I was like a twig back then.
Yeah.
That's all of what I would eat because I was so picky. And now I'm trying my best to just ignore all that and just to try things, even if I don't like it,
Yeah, that's excellent. That's a great way to
and
be.
It's a very hard hurdle to get over in my mind when something that like I never ate before in my life, because it was like, I had a fried oyster, a while back.
Yeah.
And it was, oysters. Ugh.
Yeah,
And I tried it and I was like,
I was the same way.
that's like really good. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm trying to get over that hurdle in my mind of that's gross, or, that's disgusting, But
Yeah.
I'm trying to just try whatever I can.
That's
And-
great, and it's good you're in
yeah.
culinary school too. And I think you'll find that most all of the chefs are the same way. They'll tell you you don't have to like it, but you have to try it.
Yeah.
And especially if it's something that you're creating, I mean, you have to try it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd think, oh, but I don't want to. I don't really love duck. I don't love duck. But I made Peking duck and things like that. And I'll tell you, I like duck bacon. I don't know if you've ever had duck bacon.
I don't think I've ever had.
It's really good. And I have too. I've learned a few things. I mean, growing up, like I said, in the Midwest, we had very simple taste. Very simple meals, meat, potatoes, vegetable kind of thing. And the good thing I think about being an Army wife is we have been a lot of amazing places, and I've gotten to experience some, we've lived in Europe a lot and things like that. So I got to experience a lot of that, and I had to be a little less closed-minded, maybe a little more adventurous. So I hope you do have the chance to travel, because it's an
I hope I
eye-opener.
do.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I would want to go work in like a Paris kitchen. I don't know if I ever get to, but if
Yeah, I
if
hope
that
you do.
if that ever comes up, I'm gonna be like,
Yeah.
I'll be there in a week.
Well, we have a former chef who now lives in Australia, and I'm sure Chef Mackenzie,
yeah.
and I'm sure that if she got the word from one of the other chefs that you were looking for something like that, maybe she might, put in a good word for you somewhere.
And that's like Gordon Ramsay, which he's kind of become the face of the culinary universe now, and
Right.
there's been mixed opinions about him and yada yada yada, but he spent some time like in Paris learning from a few people there, and he went to a lot of all the big restaurants in England and worked there, and I would love to do that. And I'm trying my best in my career to not be closed-minded when it comes to opportunities, because I don't want to say to myself right now, like, as soon as I get to where I'm able, I'm going to open my own restaurant. I would love to open my own restaurant, and I feel like eventually I would like to do that, maybe further on down in my career. But I don't want to be so closed-minded of doing a certain thing and I get the opportunity to do something that could be an amazing opportunity, but I don't want to be like, oh, well, I'm planning on opening my own restaurant
Yes,
next
I see
year,
what you're saying.
so,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
I'm trying my best, because right now I don't really have a set timeline or a set, really, even a goal really in my career. I just love everything about this industry. I love everything about cooking, and I'm just going to see where it takes me. I'm going to try my best not to be closed-minded. So, and I pray I get the opportunity
Yeah.
to go do something like that, because
Yeah.
I really want to.
I hope you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some amazing people out there that do some amazing things in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So, travel. What an eye opener. Yeah.
I want to get into traveling eventually, which it can be hard working in a restaurant, because the hours are kind of
the hours.
and take some commitment to a certain place. But
Yeah.
I have done like a little bit of traveling to foreign countries or wherever. Like I've been on like cruise ships, and we would go to like I've been to the Bahamas, Mexico, Belize, Honduras, stuff like that. And I didn't really get the chance to eat at many restaurants down there, because I haven't really been on a cruise where I've been like into culinary stuff, because the last one I went on, I didn't even know what I was going to do in my life at that point. So
Sure.
and then food on cruise ships is amazing, because they have chefs from all around the world, and they get them to come on this one boat, and their food is amazing.
See, you could do that.
I would want to.
That wouldn't be a bad gig.
But also, like, when we went to Mexico, I got to eat at an authentic Mexican restaurant. It wasn't like an Americanized restaurant. It was
Sure.
authentic.
Yeah.
And it was like some of the best food I've ever eaten in my life. You know, it was so good.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I would love to do stuff like that and just travel and yeah. But yeah,
That's good. It's good you're figuring out now what it is while you're still real young, what it is that interests you.
Yeah.
You know, not that you have to stay with it forever and ever, but it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're young and strong. You know, it's hard work. It's late hours.
Yeah.
It's, it's
Weekends, holidays.
It's weekends, it's holidays when everybody else is out partying. You're in the kitchen cooking. But it, satisfying and hopefully something you really love.
And I've already ran and stuff like that because
Yeah.
like all my friends, they work 9 to 5s and you know, they hang out in the evenings and on the weekends and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I gotta work, you know what I mean? So
Yes, I do.
it's kind of easy to get discouraged when stuff like that, but I love my career and I love working in the kitchen, so it's kind of worth it, you know.
That's good. Not everyone is meant to do it.
Yeah.
And, if you feel very passionate about it and it really interests you, I hope you go for it.
And me and Josiah were talking about that, and I feel like, and if you want, like, in order to really be successful in this career, in this industry, you have to love it. You have to.
Yes.
And you could say that about any job, but I don't know that much about other jobs, but at least this one I can say, like, you have to love it. And, I love everything about it because I started working in front of the house somewhere just as a high school job, and I just kind of fell in love with the industry. I fell in love with restaurants. I talked with my boss a lot, and it just kind of one thing led to another. Hey boss, I might go to culinary school next semester, and
Yeah.
and I fell in love with the business. I fell in love with everything about it, and
That's great.
I love this industry. I love cooking. I love restaurants, and a lot of times I'd rather be at work than any place else. And it's weird because I was telling Josiah, I used to work at a restaurant like 2 minutes up the road, and I would go to work like a few hours early some days because I just get bored. And
Just to
it's
go.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
and,
Just to be around that.
Yeah. And I have worked with people who just didn't want to be there, didn't
Sure.
care anything about it.
Well,
and-
yeah, there is a lot of that.
And they didn't like it. They hated it. And,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, do something else. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Go find something else that makes you happy.
Yeah.
One of my kids asked me not long ago if I ever got tired of cooking. And I thought for a minute, and nobody had ever asked me that before. And I just said, no, I don't ever get tired of it. When I'm stressed, my husband will tell you, I usually go in the kitchen and find something to do in the kitchen because it helps me kind of, I can do things in there and I can kind of process what's going on with my day, but it sounds a little silly, but the kitchen is kind of my safe place because I can go in there and do what I want, what I'm comfortable with, what makes me happy, that kind of thing. Even my own kitchen, not necessarily, a commercial kitchen, but I just like being in my own kitchen. Yeah. I like making things for my family. It makes me happy. It, helps me show them that I care for them and that kind of thing. So it's just, it's a great, it really is kind of a way of life. It's kind of a different way to equate it, but my husband was in the military for a long time. That's all he ever wanted to do was be in the Army. He wanted to jump out of airplanes. And he did it for 30 years. And that's his comfort zone, whereas the kitchen is mine. And like I said, not everybody's meant to be there, but if you're meant to be there, you know it.
And there's the same, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. That's not really true.
No, no, it's still hard work.
It's work. And I'll be I feel like I already got feet problems and I'm only 17, you know what I mean? And,
Sure.
But,
yeah,
know.
I know I can't, there are some days I come home and it's like, I don't remember being this tired ever. It's like my back is tired and I just want to lay down, and my legs are tired, and all that. I just need a break, but it's what I want to do.
Yeah, and if you love it, it's fun to me.
It is, and it's one of those things I don't think. Well, for me, because I'm at a real different point in my life than you are, I can still, I think, be involved in the food industry maybe in a different way, like you were saying. I don't necessarily want to work front of the house because I've done that. I like being back of the house. I like that kind of thing. So if I can I can find my own place, even at this point in life. If I can find something in a kitchen somewhere, commercial kitchen, that makes me happy and makes me feel fulfilled and like I'm doing what I want to do, that's where I want to be. I mean, I'm not ready. I'm not old enough that I want to just sit down and do nothing, and not have anything. Or, I know people that don't really have a whole lot going on at this point in life, and I'm not ready for that. And so that's that's kind of what I'm looking for, even at this age. So hopefully, between you and me, we know a whole lot of people, who are all different ages, who are trying to find their place in the food service business. And I think there's room for everybody. I really do. I mean, in some form or another, because like you said, there are many facets of the business, and not everybody is standing over a fry basket cooking. Not everybody is whatever they're doing. There are a whole lot of different ways you can express yourself. You can be creative. You can feel like you're being fulfilled. You're still a part of the food service industry in a way that pleases you. So,
yeah. It's a rough business. Me and Josiah really talked about the downs of working in the kitchen and whatever, but there's also many ups, and that's what, at the end of the day, like, I told him, I feel like I got the best job on the planet, just playing with food all day. So at the end of the day, it really feels like it's worth it when everything works,
Yeah, and there are those bad days. I mean, we've seen them, and they're not pretty. And you kind of wish you were anywhere else. And things go wrong, and people are mad and throwing things, and stuff just not going well. And you feel bad, like your customer maybe is not going to get the best experience or what they were looking for or whatever, just because things didn't go well. But hopefully those are not as many as the good days.
And I've had days where I leave work and I'm just like, I'm not coming back. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
But at the end of the day, like, I'll be back the next day, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to work. What are we doing today?
It's like, no, I'm tired of this. I want to go home. It's like, that was not fun. That is not what I want to do. But then the next day you're back in there, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, here we are. Let's try this again.
I've had days where I'm just like, tomorrow I'm going to my boss, and I'm gonna tell him I'm out. You know?
Sure. I felt that.
The next day will come, and you'll be like, man, why was I thinking that? My job's great. What am I talking about? So, yeah. It can be it's a very up and down business.
It is.
And there are many pitfalls as well, because it's very hard opening your own place and doing your own thing, because it's a very unforgiving business, and it can be hard to do stuff like that. So
I think, honestly, a perfect scenario would be a chef who wants to open their own business, who has a business partner who has a business background. Because you see in a lot of restaurants, the head chef they're not doing anything in the kitchen. They're handling all the business stuff, and they're cranky because they're handling all the business stuff, and they want to be in there with their hands on the food. And they're still trying to keep an eye on what's going on in the kitchen, but they have all these, they're being, pulled in so many different ways that it would seem to me that it would be easier if they had someone in their corner who was either their business partner or whatever, who was handling all of that for them. Because I'll have to tell you, I have a lot of people ask me what I'm going to do now that I'm out of school, and I don't want to open my own place. And I just don't, because I don't want to do all of that business part. That isn't why I went to a culinary program. I did that so that I learned how to work in the commercial kitchen and how to be creative in all those things. I didn't, yes, I had to take purchasing class and a law class, and I had to take, all those other things.
Yeah.
But that wasn't, I had to do that. That isn't the part I wanted to do. I wanted to do the kitchen part. And that was the most fun for me, was being in there, because I started, I got my baking and pastry art certification, and then I finished my culinary degree. So I got a little bit of both worlds, which I highly recommend if you can take some baking classes in there, because the pastry chefs are pretty amazing. And I think it's a good thing to know how to do, even if you decide, no, I'm a cook, and I take pride in saying that I'm a cook. Okay. But I also think that it's good to learn how to make rolls, or make a basic cake, or make bread, or if you want to make your own baguettes, or you want to do this or that, so that you can step in if there's a need for it, so that you're not relying on somebody else, or you have to say, no, I need to change that because I don't have the ability to make that. So, and I think anytime you have the chance to take other classes that make you well-rounded, it's a good idea. And I also, they offer some continuing ed classes there as well, and you can take all of those.
Yeah.
And I took an entremet class, which I don't remember how many days that was. I don't know, 2 or 3 days, where you make these complex desserts, and they take you like 2 or 3 days to make a dessert. Not really something I ever plan on doing ever. But it was good to see it. It was good to see all that goes into it. So if, let's say I am catering somewhere, and they say, well, can you make this particular thing? And it's an entremet, I'm going to have to think, well, do I know somebody who can come in and do that for me?
Yeah.
Because I could do part of it, but I can make you a good loaf of bread. I loved artisan bread class. I loved things like that. Cake decorating is not my thing, but
yeah, I couldn't do that.
No,
that's a big internet trend right now. People are making things that look just like normal things, like they'll do like shoes and whatever. But it's a cake.
It's a cake.
Which that's not really. It's just a little piece of cake covered in fondant. It
is. It's for show.
But that's
It's for show.
I'm not gonna really say any condemn that or whatever, because
no, some people are really
art.
good
that's
at
using
it.
Food as art. So,
yeah, that's the thing about being a pastry chef. I think you have to be an artist, and I'm not. I mean, I can make you a really nice meal, but I'm not going to decorate a cake for you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's so many, like you said, many different aspects of the whole culinary business, and I think they're all kind of necessary. I really do. But it's good to, you're going to get exposed to a whole lot of it in school, and then just get out there and try everything. Try it all.
So we've been going on over an hour by now.
Have we really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me and Josiah only went 45 minutes, and we kind of ran out of things to talk about. So, and I wanted to ask you real quick. So you recently finished culinary school.
I did.
So I just wanted to get your overall thoughts and your conclusion about that whole experience and stuff like that. So,
about school.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I was looking for something to do that interested me. And Sandhills offers both the certificate portion or the degree completion, or the degree portion of both baking and pastry and culinary. My initial intent was to get a certificate in both baking and pastry and culinary and call it a day. Well, then as I got in there and I got to do some pretty fun things, I realized I wanted to keep going. So I ended up, I had a great advisor. Chef Courier is my advisor. The chefs that are in there are all really experienced and a broad range of experience, which is cool. So, Chef Webb, who's a sommelier, can, teaches wine class and can talk to you for a long time about any of that and is more than willing to do it. And then you have, Chef Durkee, who's an amazing pastry chef, or Chef Bruner, who runs his own business, and makes killer bread and that kind of thing. And it's just, and then Chef Courier is the, ice carving champ.
Yeah.
So it was a whole lot more, the program was more in depth than I anticipated. I learned an incredible amount there. And I think since I've been cooking since I was a kid, my mom showed me how to cook, taught me how to cook. And she taught me what to do. She didn't always tell me the why of it, why you had to do something a certain way.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot of that in school. And I've learned how to translate a lot of what I do in some of what I do in a home kitchen to a commercial kitchen, because it's a real different beast. All the equipment's different, everything's different. And there for a while, I wasn't really sure I was going to be successful. But I stuck with it, and the chefs stuck with me, and they're pretty awesome. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. It's just been a great experience. And now I feel like, although I've always known I could cook, I've always known I can do some basic baking and things like that. Now I feel like I can go in a commercial kitchen and I can hold my own.
Yeah.
And I might have to learn a certain restaurant, certain techniques for things, but I'm not as intimidated. And I feel a whole lot more prepared. And I feel like, even the last place I worked, the chef talked to me like he assumed that I knew what I was doing, which I appreciated greatly. But I like it, and it's a great program. And I tell you, I encourage people every chance I get, even people that I worked with who have not been through a culinary program, but they're working in a kitchen. It's like, hey, if you ever think of that, if you have the opportunity, you might want to give that a try and just see if that's something that you really like to do, because you're going to learn everything from knife skills. You're going to learn basic sauces. You're going to learn how to process meat, how to fabricate meat rather.
Yeah.
All those kind of things that you're not going to learn on your own. So it's really a great program.
And that's like me. Actually, I wasn't. Well, it was kind of. It's always driven into people. You got to go to college. You got to do this. You have to have a college degree to succeed in anything in life. And that's another topic. I could get into that, but when I first started out, I was planning on owning my own business, but I was just gonna go to culinary school just to get a piece of paper that says I know what I'm doing. I wasn't expecting to really like learn anything. Well, I mean, I was expecting to learn stuff, but not like, I don't know. I just wanted to get a degree. That way I could say, if anyone tries to, how do you don't know?
Sure.
I got this piece of paper that has my name on it. You know what I mean? But I never, because I come from a farm in the middle of nowhere. I never really pondered the idea of being something bigger, because my plan was, I actually had the boss I first worked with, he was saying, I had the idea to really make this my career, and I told him, hey, I'm actually planning on going to culinary school, and he said, like, all right, as soon as you get out, we might do something and whatever. And there wasn't really going to be, I wasn't planning on being this big chef or whatever like that. I just wanted to go to school because my parents really required me to go to school, basically.
Sure.
So
yes, I understand.
So I was just going to school to go to school, really, but I wasn't planning on being anything bigger than just a small restaurant owner. But in school, it opened my eyes to just, like, there's so much more I could be doing. No offense to small restaurant owners, that's amazing. That's pretty cool.
And that's good if that's what you decide you want to do.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have the option.
You make it a very, like, home, I don't know, in your like hometown, and you know, it could be a very personal thing, and you could kind of bring your family's cooking into it to make it really homemade good stuff. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff you can do with that, but it opened my eyes to doing like more things that, hey, you know, you could go open a Michelin star restaurant in, you know, this big city, and
Yes.
I don't know if I ever get to do that. Maybe I will. I don't know. I got some dreams right now, but
Sure.
you know, it opened my eyes to there's a whole lot. Like, this is not just, you don't just go to culinary school and then you own a restaurant. A lot of people, you know, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is so much more in this field and in this industry and in the world of culinary arts to do. And it's not just a very set thing. There's, because, you know, before I started, I was just, you know, people just go here, they learn how to cook, and they open their own restaurant, yada, 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 you know. But now I've, you know, kind of learned that there's more than that out there. And even though, you know, eventually, maybe in my 40s or whatever, you know, maybe I will decide to own my own restaurant. That's kind of something I want to eventually get into. But I'm just trying my best to be open to whatever opportunities may present themselves to me, because, you know.
Yeah, well, that's good. And really, if you look at this culinary program as your launching platform, you know, as your starting point, then, you know, the sky's the limit. You decide what it is you want to do with your life. And if you decide you do want to have, you know, at some point you want to move to a small town and have a little restaurant, and it's your choice, and that's a wonderful option.
I'll probably be my retirement plan.
Yeah.
I'll probably do that when I retire.
Yes, a lot of work, but yeah, but still, I mean, you're right. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of opportunity, and I hope you go out there and try it all.
Yeah.
Just try it all.
I'm excited.
That's good.
You know, I'm just open.
Yeah.
I'm just open-minded. I'm not going to put a ceiling on my head of, you know, you
Good
got to
deal.
own a restaurant by the age 20 or
Yeah.
that's,
Well, no.
that's a far,
yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to put a ceiling on my head.
Yeah. There's so much to learn in between now and then, when you finally have that concept in your mind of what you want to do. You know, that you need to, you know, get out there and try all kinds of different things. Who knows where that is, but you know, try, you know, really upscale restaurants. Try working at a, you know, the Pinehurst Resort, you know, the world-class place. Try working, you know, all kinds of different places. Travel a little bit and see what you come across, different countries, different cuisines, that kind of thing, and then, you know, then come up with a plan from there.
Yeah.
But the good thing is you don't have to decide right now.
I mean, I'm 17, so I got like a major head start in this type deal.
Yes, you do.
So
yes, you do.
I'm just, because I'm going to be finished with school. I think I'm going to get my degree in culinary arts, and I think the way I'm doing it right now, I'm going to get a certificate in restaurant owning.
Oh, the restaurant management?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what I'm going to get.
Yes.
So, and I'm going to get that by the time I'm in 2 years. So by the time I'm 19, because my last semester would be fall 2022.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, by the time I'm 19,
Yeah.
I'll have that degree and that, you know, certificate. And
That's not very long from now.
yeah,
When you think about it, to have accomplished all that already, to have that real great head start.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I've got the whole world ahead of me right now, you know. And I don't want to have a set plan of what I'm going to do after school, or, you know, what my career is going to be.
Sure.
Because what if there's a bigger and better opportunity out there, and I may overlook that while I'm so busy focusing on this one thing that I said I'm going to do. So,
Yeah. That's a good way to be.
Yeah.
You gotta, I'm kind of that way. I don't really have a lot of plan. I just kind of see where things go.
yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's like an hour and 20 minutes now, so This is a very long episode. This is like almost double the one with Josiah.
Is that right?
Yeah. But,
well, thanks for having me today.
yeah, it's been a pleasure. I'll have you on again sometime.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck to you. And
Thank you.
tell me when you start a catering business. I'll get you to do my wedding or
Okay.
something like that.
That's a deal. I'll do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone to listening. If you like it, please leave a like. Please rate us on iTunes. That can be a big help. And yeah. So thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.